First of all, how many people feel like, given what's going on in the world, that, you know, we're kind of at the end of something, like there's a quality of chaos and things not working, and, you know, you can just raise your hands. You know, just, it isn't this feeling like, oh, it's all new, and, you know, like at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution or something, it was all very exciting. You know, like it feels like it's all fraying. Would be the nice way to say it, crashing, fraying, falling apart. And, you know, the sense too of that whatever everybody's coming up with isn't quite it either. You know, there isn't like some thing to do, you know, that feels like, well, if we could just get in there and do that, like there are things that will help. But there isn't this feeling of like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna get behind and just do that, because that will begin to move things to a higher frequency. So the question that I have is, so I want you to think about this, and then respond with raising your hand. And just keep it simple, okay? But what would be the best news for humanity that you could imagine? So with all of what's going on, you know, and then all of a sudden we were told, guess what? Guess what? You know, this is what's really happening, or this is what's possible, or this is something that could, you know, this is where humanity is going, and this is how you could participate. Like, you know, what would be the good news? What could be the good news? To me, like, the only thing that I really want to do is to share this good news and to have people in droves accessing what's possible. You know, so, you know, that to know what it is and then do it, know what it is and do it, know what it is and do it, you know, like literally, you know, in a world that is as crazy as I think it's ever been. What's exciting, and, you know, I've been teaching in particular ways for a long time, and accessing that collective shared awakening, and working in that domain, and knowing how absolutely real it is, and how when you genuinely enter into that shared frequency, which is beyond just people getting along, something is being given that we don't even deserve. It's pure grace. Seriously, you know, it is the opposite of the individual path where you have to work so hard to finally let go and have certain experiences. It's almost the opposite. Like the moment people start to turn in the right way and enter into a unitive, shared unity, it's like the universe is like some big puppy dog, you know, it's kind of like going, I love you, you know, like it's like pouring in the kind of awakenings, and what is being given is so disproportionate to whatever it is that we're doing. You know, the little bit that we're doing to turn towards each other and kind of get over ourselves, you know, to some degree, it's very encouraging. You know, you don't have to be the most enlightened person. You don't have to be the person who's developed through all the levels of yada, yada, yada. You know, like all the things we thought that were necessary, you know, for us to be truly purified human beings. It seems to have changed the requirements. You know, the requirements don't seem as rigid as they were before. So the good news, you know, and I know many of you had a chance to be on the call that Dr. Carl Kalaman and I did on the nine waves of unity. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to that recording or be there, you should definitely sign up for it. The download is still available until the end of the month. And, you know, Carl, who's here, you know, does a brilliant job of, you know, giving you the details of how evolution works and why it does what it does, and actually where we are headed now, like what is being given now. So the details and the history and the science, you know, so, and I know how much we love that. You know, we love being able to see all the details of it, because it makes it that much more real. It allows us to believe in it. You know, most of us. For some people, it's not as important. What's important is to find the reality as well. So, you know, everybody's got a different way of doing it, but I particularly like Carl's presentation and his knowledge and his brilliance. And then the piece that I shared, which is we've been experimenting and experiencing and working with this shared unity consciousness that is really egoless. And that is the best news in the world, is what evolution is literally downloading at this point, just like it downloaded life and plants and animals. You know, it's as powerful as that. It doesn't depend on human ingenuity. Thank goodness. If it depended on us and our development and our willingness and our this and our that, you know, we would be depressed. Because to try to get even 3 human beings to choose a movie to go to, you have trouble, right? You know, when it comes to us, you know, we are wonderful, but we're also very, in our separateness, we are very, very hard to wangle to do anything very effectively. So what's being given, and that's the piece that I want to talk about, is the possibility, the reality of shared unity that is egoless. That has never been here before. Never. You know, we might have wanted that. We might have hoped for that, you know, in our individual pathways of, you know, growing in the other layers of evolution. Getting enlightened was possible. Becoming a saint was possible for some people. You know, some people had that happen. And those things occurred, but it was never given to humanity that humans could actually come together in an egoless unity together. That's an outrageous, radical possibility. And it's here. And we need people to step in the right way so that that can actually become the reality that is here. That's the part we can do. So in the previous stages of evolution, where we were given our individuality, given the opportunity to develop, you know, our separateness and our ability to know ourselves and become, you know, the amazing human beings that we are, and the destructive human beings that we are. You know, we have both, both sides of creation and destruction. We were not given at that point the download, like the jump into shared consciousness, unitive consciousness that didn't have separation in it. So what we were capable of doing was to come together with compassion, to come together with love, to come together with working together, cooperating, you know, not giving up on each other, inspiring each other, like all of the wonderful things that human beings do in a positive sense. But we're still separate. We can still fall into the selfishness and survival. You can be with somebody and it's wonderful, and then, you know, all of a sudden some part of their survival gets triggered and they're not so wonderful. You know, all of us have been betrayed or experienced, you know, like what happened, you know, like how did it go from one thing to another? And that's part of the design that has been here, is that we have been given the light and dark and free will and, you know, our individual choices. And human beings can always fall. And we know people that have become very, very amazing and beautiful and pure and have fallen. So the design up until now has included all of that. And we've just worked with it. You know, we just assume that that's what's possible to human beings. Now, you know, in the terminology that Carl has given and that we've been using is the ninth wave. You know, there's a wave of evolution that is saying, that is literally giving egoless unity. And there's an access to it. And somehow when we are together in that way, instead of our free will, we are orchestrated. There's a kind of being moved. There's a kind of there's a lift in it that's hard to even understand. It's like gravity's turned on its head. Instead of fighting against, you know, the pull down, there's something literally that has a kind of buoyancy. When we are connected, when we start to build circuitry with each other, and we literally are connected in a way that is a jump from being an individual, a jump from being in relationship with people. It's a very different reality entirely. So the good news is, number one, it's not up to us. It's up to us to align. It's not up to us that it's being given. That's really good news. Something has been given. It's here. And it's intended, and it's exactly what the universe, you know, what the world needs, is for the, you know, for human beings and the babies that are being born and the ones that are, you know, like for us to be connected in a way that we're not divided anymore. The second thing that's a good news is that what it takes is a quantum jump. You can't get there from here. So whatever you think, everything you've been doing and your work on yourself, like all of that is within a different paradigm. It's in a different world. And the weird thing is that when the jump happens, then all of a sudden it's like the whole thing changes. You actually experience a kind of connection. You don't just know that you're connected, you actually feel the circuitry of connection. And different things are possible that weren't possible before. So the jump is good news. The reality that it's here, that it's being given to us, like all the evolutionary movements in existence have been given. And that it's about egoless unity. So we're being moved beyond survival. And that's some kind of recognition or something, you know, that humans have been fighting against our survival, you know, fear and, you know, needing to take care of our, you know, like all the things that we need to make happen. So when push comes to shove, when we aren't together, it's usually because of survival, and you have to be a very heroic human being to overcome some of those, you know, those tendencies. You know, there are heroes. But it's a, you know, it's an individual struggle to be as selfless as one can be when you're an individual. In the jump of shared unity, the whole thing is different. You're not alone. You're not trying to survive. The potentials and the possibilities are enormous. And you actually feel safe. Mostly what we don't feel safe from is other people. You know, if you look out in the world, the trouble is not like the bears are coming into town and, you know, destroying our homes. You know, it's humans. You know, humans are making all kinds of trouble. And other humans are standing up to try to, you know, to fix that. But, you know, the problems in the world are separate human created. So to me, you know, the best news is now's the time. There's something given that was never given before. It's not like we failed at it. We just weren't given the possibility of unity together. That's beyond, you know, the kind of unity that we've created, you know, in being separate. Peace that's important, and you might have been able to taste it with us because we, you know, there's some different places where people have been doing the work with us. We have a global community where once people learn how to do the mutual awakening practice, which looks simple, you know, and I know that you're all like very skilled people, but it is interesting, the moving from being very individually, sensitively focused on oneself. It's not a small thing to get you to not be that way. You know, we're pretty developed there. You know, we've spent time. I mean, most people have spent a fair amount of time in their inner connection, meditating and working. So it's developed. And like shifting the, what do you call it? You know, it's kind of like your you know, where you're weighed, you know, your grounded point or your stabilization point, to getting it off that into the origination point, which is this, you don't have to be grounded. With your origination point, there's no grounding, and there's absolutely, because you're not located on the earth or in, you know, you're located in a place that has a reference point in unity. So it's like grounded in a very different way. That feels safer to me than just being grounded in my body on earth. So somehow it includes that. I mean, I actually feel very embodied, but it's like a very different place to discover and move and live and experience. Like wake up in the morning and you don't experience that you're on your own. It is a quantum jump. You know, so it sounds weird until, and then the more you're there, you're like, well, yeah, you know, like it feels completely like I've, you know, it's always been. That's how quantum jumps are like that. You know, it's not developmental. It's more like when you get there, it feels like you've always lived from this particular source place. And the longing, I believe, that so many of us feel, so many of us that have worked and done, and young people are lonelier than even people that are baby boomers or whatever, you know, statistically. There's a longing, and it's not a longing for a relationship with another separate person, someone to go have lunch with, or, you know, we usually have enough of that. It's this longing to be one, to have that depth, to meet and live and exist and exchange at the depth of who you, of divinity, of who you really are, in a way that changes the world. You know, I also think that there are a lot of people in the world that don't want to just keep themselves entertained until they die. Right? You know, and to a large degree, you know, there's spiritual entertainment too. You know, I'm so against spiritual entertainment, you know, because I think it's too important. You know, like there's something important. There's something so important that needs you, and you need it. Teilhard de Chardin had, I mean, I just love that he said evolution is a process of groping. And groping is you kind of like go this way and then you go that way, you know. So everyone that is in this work or that stays here for more than a day or two, you know, has a certain kind of openness and humility and a willingness to grow, because this is at the beginning of something. You know, if you want something that's already been defined, study a religion. You know, religions are like 3,000 years old, no problem. It's all worked out. They know exactly how to do everything. You know, if you want to be on the edge of where the divine is experimenting and bringing what is new, then you have to, you know, you have to do what Fran said. You have to just be willing to hang in there and discover and give yourself and grow and discover with everyone else. And I think I love that. I love that we need each other, and that we need to be able to enter into this together with the attitude of, you know, being willing to find our way and to be willing to be guided. An individual being in this separate self world, right? You have to work through egoic, you know, defensiveness and projections and all this stuff in order to make contact with other people and to have an effective relationship, you know, and to have depth and the rest of it, to be vulnerable, to be authentic. That is working within the soul or essence work, right? The incarnational soul, which is the individual coming in and learning and growing and learning through experience and choices and various things. This jump is literally to a different place. It's not the soul, the origination point when you begin to work with it. Like if you come and start to learn how to do the practice or whatever, you'll discover, because you have been a teacher, right, in a certain domain, the origination point is being given as a new source. And it is not connected to the karma and the patterning and the light and dark and the free will and the authenticity, and all of that has a different, it's literally different. And this is not spiritual bypass. I understand what that is as well. It's literally a different beingness. It's a different something that's being given. If we have to wait for, it wouldn't even work. If everyone individually worked through all their stuff, this would still not happen. That's the part that's kind of like, really? I thought if we worked through everything and we loved each other, then we would be there. And the good news is, because no one's ever going to do all that, right? As we know, you know, 8 billion people are probably not going to be that dedicated. There's a jump. There's something that's being given that's making something possible that doesn't require that and is accessing something different. And I love that you asked the question, you know, that you presented that, because there's so many things that are misunderstood about this as a potential. Here's the thing, I can only do so much here without everyone being trained to really know how to go into the practice. There's a particular practice that we do that's a half an hour, that's the base practice. You know, that would be like the mindfulness practice of this, where you start to literally go into that. And it's called the Mutual Awakening Practice. And we've tried to make it as simple as possible. We can't teach people in 5 minutes on a group call. You know, I'm not that good. You know, I don't know how to go, boom, you know, and everyone just sort of knows how to jump over and do it. So there's a Mutual Awakening Practice course that's 4 sessions, 4 modules, and we give people 2 weeks in global where they get to go every day if they want for 2 weeks to practice with people that actually know how to go in here and do a half an hour practice every day if you want. So there is this Saturday, I'm doing a call. So there's the Saturday call at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We'll send you a link and you should come. You'll get to have a mini experience because we limit it to 100 people so that we know for sure we can do some short practices in pairs. And then there's an opportunity to do the course in July. We started a course last night, but that one is now full and over. But yeah, no, it's like, that's the part I get so frustrated. Like, I just want everybody to like come do the thing, do the 4 sessions, learn how to do the practice, and then we can go everywhere. You know, we can start to go everywhere together, but I don't know how to do it without bringing people into exactly how to do it. You know, without bringing people into that particular skill set. You know, I can only do so much. So thank you, Sarah.